All right, so we're back on the 69 Charger today on the bearing repair. We got some supplies in. I ordered another set of bearings. So these are 20 under, and these are 10 under. I don't know which ones I'm gonna use yet. We have our emery cloth here, different grits. We have 500, 1,000, and 1,500. We have, I ordered from the master, some copper shim stock. This is 1,000 thick. It's like aluminum foil, but it's copper. And the purpose of this, at least what I was thinking, is if I have to use, let's just say, hypothetically, let's say the bearing had a 5/1000 interference fit, which I think it did because it really mangled the bearings and got it really hot. It wasn't a situation where it was, maybe 1 thou and it needed to be like 3 or 4. So what I'm thinking is of using the 10 thou under bearings and then shimming them with copper shim stock. And I can put a piece, I have 2,000 and I have 1 thou here. So if I put, let's just say if I put the bearing in the 10 under and the clearance is at 5 thou, then I can put a 1 thou on either side of the bearing and get it down to, I get it down to 4, or not 4, but 3. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the approach we're going to take. Now, it is going to move the bearing halves together a little closer. So what I'll have to do is, if I use the shim method, I'm going to have to take the bearings and lap down this mating surface here, this face and this face, because if you put 2 thou on the back side and 2 thou on the other side, it'll actually push the halves up out of the cap 2,000s, right? So that's kind of, and you don't want to have too much crush. So I'll have to take this down a little bit just to make sure that everything mates properly. But yeah, but it'll ensure that the bearing won't spin, that's for sure. Because the resistance between the cap and the bearing is determined by how much the bearing actually sticks out of the cap when you clamp it down. So anyways, but that's it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to sand down the crank. And I took the fan shroud off, and I took the front pulley off, the fan for the radiator. I'm gonna spray some WD-40 on this. And then what I'm gonna do is squirt this here. And then I'm gonna drench this in WD-40, and this will help cut it, the metal.
Do you have a towel for this stuff?
Huh?
This stuff, I don't want to get
It's
that.
cool. Yeah. So I'm going to
over
push
here.
this in here.
Let me go over here. See if I can see. I can't see what you're doing.
Maybe over here.
I don't want stuff all over me. Let's see. You gotta wait for the videographer.
So I'm gonna fish this through, and then basically, it's like you're shining shoes.
So are you gonna tell just by feel? Because you can't see.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna rotate the crank. You can see how the material that's coming off here.
Mm-hmm. Where are your safety glasses?
You don't need to take glasses for this.
Oh, you could get WD-40 in your eyes?
Yeah. It'll lubricate your eyeballs so they don't rust. Andrew, you want to rotate the crank?
Oh, yeah, sure.
This is like a 4-person job.
3.
Four person or 4 hands?
No, Remy. He's cheering us on.
Oh.
Dogs are people too?
Dogs are dogs, people are people. Oh, crap. That hurt. Okay, let me hit it with some WD-40 some more.
On your hand.
Huh? Yeah. Keep going. Well, actually, I want to show the contrast. So maybe you could video this, and so you could see the. Here, let me grab the camera so you don't get all dirty.
That's nice of you.
So you can see the difference there. So it's half polished and half that's not.
Yep.
So that's what we're going after. Ready, rotate it. Okay, that's good. Why does it feel like we're in the 1950s and we're fixing?
We're not.
On the side of the road. I have like,
Side of the road.
I have. I've heard stories of from people that are older than me, a lot older. They're like, oh yeah, when I was 17 years old, we had a bearing failure and we used what is it? He said a tongue from a shoe, a boot that was leather, and wrapped the main bearing, wrapped the cap, the crank in that, and that's what they used to repair it. It seems pretty janky, but that was on the motor that made, probably 50 horsepower.
50 horse.
Rotate. Whatever you do, don't get that on my phone. Okay. Anyways, you kind of get the point. So I'm just going to keep doing this with the different grits. And we'll look at it when we're done to see the progress and see kind of where we stand as far as the condition of the crank and what we're going to do to address the problem. But it looks pretty good so far. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. So
Okay.
little hokey, but I think given our circumstances, I think it'll work.
Okay.
All
Now to
this.
stop it, I have to show you what happens.
Look, so that's
So
what
you used all that?
all this. Yeah, these are all the grits.
Those are all used? No more?
Yeah.
No good no more?
No, but that's the end result right there.
Oh, it's pretty.
So it's a 1500. I will say 1500 grit polish
Okay.
compared to what it looked like before. So now the next step is to install
This stuff.
one of these bearings that I bought.
It's dangerous over here.
So this is the 20 thou. I'm gonna open up this bearing set next because if with sanding and if this actually gets us where we need to go, it's actually better to use this setup than it is to use this one with the copper shims. The bad part is I have to open up a bearing and I can't return it.
Right.
So it's $100 for each one of these.
Yikes.
So
But I think it's worth it. You think?
I don't think Dan will mind if it ends up with a
Right.
versus pulling the whole engine out, which is
Right.
thousands of dollars. So
Thousands.
multiple thousands of dollars, like $10,000. So I'm going to install one of these, and then I'll use the plastic gauge to measure the clearance, and then from that I'll be able to determine what the next process will be. But, so that's it. All right, so I'll get it set up. Let's see. So I put plastic gauge on the bearing, and I torqued it down.
What did you torque it to?
85 foot-pounds. And can you see anything up there, or is that?
I don't see it.
Did it just
It squeezed it away.
disintegrated it?
Looks like it used to be right there. Like right there.
Yeah, it even see that right there. See how it looks polished.
Mm-hmm. It was already pushing on
It was only pushing on it really hard, really hard. I mean, that was. Look at that. It's almost like, or look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's this thing has not only does it not have any clearance, this thing is super tight. So I'm gonna install it one more time, and then I'm gonna just to verify. I'm gonna try to rotate it. But yeah,
So how much smaller is that bearing?
This one's it's 10 under. So this is actually the same size as what came out of it, but I wanted a baseline. I'm trying to walk to the sun so I can see it better. Yeah, basically, if you look closely here, it just disintegrated the plastic gauge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interference fit. And you can see there, see it better in the light. See the shiny portion?
Yep.
There's no clearance there at all. Damn, that's crazy.
Think it's the cap?
It's possibly the cap because, well, the cap registers off these faces here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it went in tight, so, but yeah, I think that.
Well, the inside, like, line home?
You know, the funny part is, too, is these bearings are eccentric. So
they're wider on the outside?
This is the thickest part here on the base.
Yeah.
And then as you ride up the edge you ride up to the edge of the cap,
It gets thinner.
it's thinner, and that's called the hydro. Well, it's to promote the oil flow, the oil film to pick the crank off the bearing. It's called a hydrodynamic wedge, and it kind of gets in there, that's is to promote that action. But yeah, so if it's touching there, just sitting still, it's super tight. So I'm gonna go with the 10 under bearings, more plastic gauge, and see what that'll yield me as far as clearance, because this thing is basically just got destroyed.
Yeah, already.
So, all right. So what I did was I torqued the cap down without the plastic gauge, and I just rotated the crank a quarter turn. No, it wasn't even a quarter turn. It was like a 1/32 of a turn.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wipe and you could see where it's polished.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's actually hitting. So it looks like the cap is walked. So it basically the cap is
Twisted
migrated. It's positioned to the left if you're looking at the front of the car. So that's the back side, yeah. So it's this way.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's
So
what
like,
it's making.
so like a
contact.
line hone was off or
Yeah.
something.
Well, they didn't line on the block.
Oh, they didn't do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they probably bored it with the caps, but the block had a little bit of core shift to it, and so what happens is sometimes. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes over years the blocks can move around a little bit. So the caps end up going like this.
Oh, okay.
So what they do is they cut the caps down and they reseat it, and then they basically rebore the line. And that's it. So I'm gonna try this with a 10 under bearing. All right, so this is the plastic gauge with the new bearings that are 10 under. Oh shit! And it looks like it's about where we need to be. Let's see. So, yeah. So it's about 4 thou. I can live with that.
Okay.
I can live with that because typically they say you want about a thou of clearance for every inch in diameter of the journal, right? So that's probably at least 3 inches, right? So
Yeah.
performance application, you probably went 3 or about 4.5 thou. I am satisfied with this, and I see a little bit of rubbing here on the a little shiny, like a polish mark,
Oh, yeah.
but we're not gonna get away from that. It is what it is. But that alone, that's a 10 thou under, so that's how much interference it had before.
Yeah.
So now I think I'm satisfied with that. I'm just gonna reassemble it, put everything back together, start it up,
See if it works.
see if it works. All right, that problem is solved. I didn't have to use any of the copper sheet,
Oh, that's good.
but I used all the emery cloth, and I used one set of bearings. So
All right.
So yeah, so the next time you'll see a video, I guess it'll be of us starting it up and going like this.
Yeah, right.
And,
Hopefully the oil pressure is good.
yeah,
Should be right.
based on the data, it should be good. So, I mean, would it be crazy? What if it went like 100,000 miles?
That would be crazy.
It would be crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might. You never know.
Yeah, it could.
So, I mean, he wants to rebuild down the motor for it, but like I said, that's it. You know, 15K. I mean, depending what he puts in it.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, but if you can delay it by 5 years, right, and just enjoy the car, And that's what you really want to do is drive it, right? So if we can help out with that, I think that'd be cool. So, all right, next video, start up.
Yep.